The streets of Pretoria were once plagued by a menace, an inspiration to some, an enemy to others, a controversial figure, a whole force to reckon with. This is the story of Mpho Ntloge, popularly known as Sdomane 55. This was a man with a great social spotlight, an ambitious fellow with dreams sky high and a great love for fine clothing, cars, women, and luxury. However, amidst the fast-paced life of fame and luxury, Mpho suddenly met his demise. Today we take a look into the social background, lifestyle, rise and fall of one of Pretoria's outlaws. Born on the 7th May 1996 in Garankuwa, a township in the outskirts of Pretoria, Mpho experienced the upbringing of many township boys with a middle-class societal status and an above-average living. Attending his primary school at Marupem Primary School, then later Modiri High School, Mpho had acquired a basic education but was not keen on any professional career. Mpho was not really a fan of school, but rather considered himself street smart at an early age. Growing up, Mpho developed a love for fast cars, fine clothing, and the party life. During his time as a young boy, the country was undergoing a cultural shift. This cultural shift was felt heavily in Pretoria, where a life of affluence in the newly found democracy was pushed forth by crime-instigating individuals such as William Mashobane Mbata and the likes.
Mini Cooper, first time Mini Cooper ditlane.
Yeah.
I better convoy the Mini Cooper. Abea trailer le namara litsi mashobane. Tamana bea convoy a trailer ne mo trailing abile a yacht. One the yacht.
Okasi.
Matlala.
The yacht is him.
Yeah, I could convoy the Mini Cooper tsa feteng di reka for 6. People know the story. For 6. Jodi ya feta di Mini Cooper mo mahareng ke mashobane ke yacht ka trailer. Ai mo metsing. There's a party there. On this yacht. He's wearing 2 Rolexes.
On the road.
Thank you.
Seeing this kind of lifestyle in his township and in the media spaces, being a young boy and impressionable, Mpho was hooked and desired to reach affluence by any means necessary. And this marked the beginning of his delinquency. Starting with petty criminal activities as a juvenile delinquent, Mpho quickly rose to prominence in the life of crime. Dealing with crimes such as hijacking, scamming, and oftentimes suspected of cash-in-transit heist involvement, Mpho gained status for notoriety. Mpho learned the ways of the streets very quickly and quickly became rich through shady dealings. At his initial crime stages, Mpho was flashy, but not much attention was heading his direction. Mpho started making serious money and started trending on social media platforms, popularly known for giving his life advice quotes, if you can call them that. What was surprising was that Mpho was a devout and confessing ZCC member who often professed his love for the church and oftentimes speaking benevolently of the church's bishop, B.E. Likhanyani, venerating his capabilities and sharing his testimonies on social media. In these online videos, Mpho always made sure he was dressed so well and made a fashion statement, captivating hearts of those who loved lavish living. Mpho's criminal links grew with time, and so did his social media presence. As his criminal ties deepened, Mpho was given the name Sdomane 55. Sdomane literally translates popular one or simply a popular person, which is a Pretoria slang name given to people who were popular and had a lot of money, which they loved flaunting for all to see. The 55 in his name is tied to the designer brand Diesel, specifically 55 DSL, diffusion line of Diesel first launched in 1994, focusing on sportswear, urban lifestyle and streetwear. Mpho had a deep love for designer clothing, specifically but not limited to the Diesel clothing line. He rocked high fashion lines such as Gucci, Burberry, D-Squared, and the likes. The love was so deep that he would post each and every shopping spree he made, flaunting his shopping bags, beautiful cars, and videos of himself at Groove. Although he didn't have the most well choreographed dance moves, Mpho was the life of the party. This was at the end of COVID-19 lockdown, when the lockdown was scraped and people got their freedom. This freedom to Mpho meant parties, alcohol, and social media show off. Around this time, Mpho's criminal dealings were not yet made public on social media. However, people were starting to get suspicious of his spendings and often spoke out claiming that he was connected to heavily armed criminal syndicates, mostly because some of the people he was seen in videos and pictures with were well-known criminals. Mpho denied the allegations and claimed sheer hard work. However, people were not really convinced. The life of opulence and notoriety continued for quite a while, with youngsters looking up to him and enemies growing more hate towards him. Then came a time in 2021 when Mpho went live with a stolen BMW, which he had just hijacked in 4 ways. Mpho went live on Instagram with motivational quotes, showing off with purses and luxury goods he found in the stolen vehicle. Suddenly, a lady by the name of Abongile took to social media with video footage serving as proof, narrating that she was hijacked and kidnapped, stating that the car stolen was a blue BMW. She said that on a random Tuesday evening, she got a call from a friend who told her that her flu is getting worse, and since it is late, the pharmacies were closed. And since Abongile had flu medication in her place, she decided to take a short drive to her place to give her the flu medication that she had. When she arrived outside of the complex, she looked through her side mirror and saw guys coming out of a white Avanza with guns. She started panicking, and since the boom gate was already opening, she tried to quickly drive into the complex, but the main gate was still closed. One of those criminals, suspected to be Mpho himself, broke the passenger window and opened the car, pointed a gun at Abongile and told her to stop the car. Being coerced, she had no choice but to comply, realizing that she was not going to get any help. They forcefully took her out of the car and forced her into the back seat and drove away with her. All the while, they had a gun on her head. They asked for her phone password, which she gave. They also asked for her bank PIN and the cell phone banking password and her iCloud password to disable her Apple Find My iPhone service. They drove towards Deep Sloot, and from there they blindfolded her. She didn't see where they were taking her. It was a long drive till they got to some shack where they kept her for the whole night until they were able to get the tracker on the car. They then found the tracker's location in the morning around 5 a.m. All the while, Abongile was kept awake, cold, and was scared for her life. Fortunately, they didn't sexually harass her. However, the traumatic experience was very severe. Around 6 a.m., they dropped her off at Pretoria West, near the Tshwane South College, with nothing, not even shoes. She had to walk around looking for help to get home. It was not long until social media spectators made connections on this hijacking, tying the whole thing to Sdomane, who was flaunting a blue BMW earlier on. After this incident, Sdomane then rubbed shoulders with the law. It seemed that his crimes were finally catching up with him. During this period, not much was heard from him. However, he seldom posted photos in what seemed like a prison holding cell. Together with his fellow friends, they were seen with their ZCC badges, often doing ZCC dancing while drinking their church concoctions, which are believed to be of medicinal and spiritual value. During this time, social media was divided about the young man, as some showed compassion and concern about his imprisonment, while some mocked his captivity. It was not long again before Sdomane was seen outside in the following year of 2022. He was back right at his ways, mocking his enemies and flaunting his wealth through expensive alcohol and clothing. This time around, it seemed as though he had even more money. His clothing game got elevated, cars multiplied, and the partying became frequent. Mpho was yet again rumored to have came back with manifold thirst for riches, which meant that his criminal activities were now more frequent. The streets of suburban parts of Pretoria were his playground. He preyed on those well off in the affluent parts of the city. reports of his mischief never ceased. He seemed to be well connected and able to bypass the law. But as you know it, karma has a way of coming back right at us. It was on the 25th of June 2023 when Mpho met his sad demise. Mpho was out of his neighborhood of Ga-Rankuwa and had gone to a car wash in Block D Mabopane to get his car freshened and to catch up with his friends, as well as to flaunt his riches as usual. Also suddenly, an armed gunman came out of nowhere and opened fire, claiming the young man's life at the age of 27 years. Social media was on fire. Family and friends were in deep mourning and heartbreak, while victims of his crimes were having a time of their lives upon receiving the news of his passing. One victim took to social media to share her story. Mpho was once hijacking her and then suddenly stopped and said that the lady was so beautiful and that if he was not on duty, he would have taken her numbers and maybe went on a date with her. But sadly, he was on duty. Many stories of this kind surfaced and everyone got to experience the funny yet horrific side of this hijacker. With the surfacing of the news of Mpho's death, then came a huge wave of women on social media, each posting photos with him, each claiming to be Mpho's legitimate girlfriend. Some social spectators tried to justify the man's notorious lifestyle, blaming it on the socio-economic lag which affects South Africans. However, this argument could not stand because the citizens of Ga-Rankuwa are mostly people in the societal middle class, which means that he probably hailed from a family which at least had enough, and the chances of having grown up under harsh economic conditions were actually low. This then suggested that Mpho just wanted the easy route to what he considered success. The shooter was never caught, or rather, the law did not seem to have much interest in attaining justice for Mpho, since he had quite a few cases against his name in the country. But rumors started to circulate as to why Mpho got executed. Some claimed that since Mpho was too flashy and reckless, not paying attention to his social media content and not conscious of how his content could incriminate him and raise suspicions, thus causing the attention of investigative bodies such as the Hawks, Mpho's so-called business partners and criminal associates felt that he would cause attention towards them as he was in their circles, thus risking their safety, and as a result they decided to execute him for the sake of safe dealings in the future. This might be credible. After all, there is no honor amongst thieves. Another prominent rumor is that he had stolen a famous taxi boss's Toyota Hilux GD6 and was then caught wearing the luxury clothing that the car owner had left in the car, which incriminated him. The prominent taxi owner went to negotiate with him, telling him to return the car he had stolen and to keep the clothes he had found in it. According to these speculations, Mpho denied having any affiliations with this said carjacking and claimed that these were his clothes and that he knew nothing about a stolen GD6. He essentially refused to negotiate its return to the owner, and thus resultantly, he forfeited a chance to spare his life. A hit was called on him, leading to the sad incident at Mabopane. These are, however, only street rumors, as the killer was never caught, even to date. Another cause of contention on media spaces was Mpho's funeral. While people expected an event of grand stature, seeing that he had a taste for finer things in life, it did not go as expected. The funeral was average and did not meet the people's expectations of grand opulence and show-off as expected for a criminal send-off. Something that stood out was Mpho's obituary. First, it was the fact that it was written in first-person perspective. The obituary was said to be written by Mpho himself, which suggests that he was expecting to die at a tender age, seeing that he lived a fast-paced lifestyle. The obituary reflected the sentiments that he once vocalized about his life. Mpho declared that it was a lovely life and further stated, "Kilishile, mara ke phethile," which literally translates, "I have left the world, but I have fulfilled my call." This story ends with a mixture of a heartbroken family and friends at the death of their son, friend and sibling, and a contrast of joy on the faces of those who suffered at his hand. And the very important lesson about crime and its eventual compensation of death, destruction, and the grave are echoed through the said downfall.
Hello. Hey, you were saying? Oh, that Gucci head is available. Okay, I'm gonna come and buy it today. Yeah, today.
Coming up next on our YouTube channel, we will be looking at the life of Pretoria's most notorious by the name of Prince Mongol, a key figure in Pretoria's crime syndicates, a jacker, a scammer and a thief. Do like, comment and subscribe to stay tuned.